Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Future Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host here, the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about the Dayton Knapton case out of Michigan and why this is a clear-cut case of stand your ground. So for those who haven't heard of this case, it's literally one that's been making the rounds on different social media sites, specifically X was where I found it on. I think it's also been on like Facebook and a couple other ones here and there and stuff like that. So essentially what happened was, back in July of this year, you had this man named Dayton Knapton who was just chilling at his house, middle of the night, as far as I'm aware, and starts hearing noises outside. And mind you, like, just to preface this whole thing, from everything I've learned about this case, this dude had his detached garage, which I'm guessing was similar to what I used to live in my mom's place, where it was like, you had the garage basically sitting right next to the house, and they're just like, it just wasn't attached to the actual house is what it was then. And so basically, this dude had his detached garage broken into at least, I think, a couple times before this happened is what it was then. So, he goes outside, he has a gun in his hand, obviously he's armed, which, given the fact that it was only a 7-round capacity firearm, I'm guessing it was probably like a Ruger LCR or Ruger LCP or something maybe. They had one in the chamber is what it was then. Plus the 6-round magazine would make sense on that one if it was an LCP. If it was like an LCR or something like that, that would be a 9mm, and it'd be like a 7-round capacity mag on those. So could be either or, honestly, who knows. But either way, small capacity handgun, and that makes, I'm obviously prefacing that as well because it brings relevance to part of this story that we're going to talk about right now. This whole case is what it is. So basically, dude hears, noises in his garage and stuff like that. It's a windowless garage. So he goes out there, hears noises at I think it was 1 a.m. or whatever, fires 2 rounds through the garage, comes to find out there's a bunch of people then running from the scene, finishes off the mag at them, so it was just 5 more rounds then, and then proceeds to run back in the house, reload. I'm assuming when they said reload, I'm guessing what they meant was he had another mag sitting there or whatever, grab the other mag, flip that into the gun, and then proceeded to, chase these guys after them, whatever the case be, fire a couple more shots it was then. Mind you, the first 2 shots that he fired through the garage door ended up hitting this kid named, I think it was Sleeman Wilson, killing him. And, obviously he was doing criminal shit because it was him and his 6 buddies that were in this dude's garage fucking around doing criminal shit, basically. That's what it is there. Committing crimes, committing property crimes, that are there. If anything. And this is what pisses me off about Michigan State right now, because it was back in the 80s. They used to have a thing on the books, like Ohio has, called felony murder rule, where it was if you were in the commission of a crime, specifically a felony, and someone dies, everybody else that's part of that crime then gets charged with that person's murder. Instead of that happening, though, this Dayton Knapton guy, who was a white dude, and that Wilson kid that he killed, who was a black teen, this white man is now being charged with manslaughter, and this idiot kid's parents want him charged with murder. It's absolute bullshit entirely. It's a clear case of stand your ground. This dude had every legal right to shoot in self-defense. And we're going to go over Michigan stand your ground of exactly what I'm talking about here is what it is before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of the case is what it is here. From the New York Post article. So, to qualify under Michigan stand your ground law, also known as the Michigan Self-Defense Act, which removes duty to retreat before using force, including deadly force, in certain circumstances, says key conditions under Michigan stand your ground law. No duty to retreat if you're in a place where you have legal right to be, which this guy was. He was in his house, and it was in his garage that he was, shooting into is what it was then, because he heard, obviously, people, fucking around there is what it was, and are not committing a crime, which the guy was not. You have no duty to retreat before using force to defend yourself or another person from immediate unlawful use of force, which, again, now that we know that there was, 7 people, here's what it is, 7 versus 1. Yes, that's a clear case of, needing deadly force is what it is right then. You also got reasonable belief of harm. So to use deadly force, you must have to have an honest and reasonable belief that the force is necessary to prevent imminent death, great bodily harm, or sexual assault to yourself or another individual, which I'm guessing this guy did, honestly, because, again, it was 7v1, man. Then we got perpetual force. The amount of force used must be perpetual to the threat faced. Deadly force is only justified in the face of threats of death, great bodily harm, or sexual assault. Again, meets that criteria. And the fourth one, not the initial aggressor. So you cannot have provoked the situation or been the initial aggressor in the confrontation, which I don't think this guy was, honestly, because when you look at it, he was responding to people breaking into his home, which they were the aggressors, or I should say breaking into his garage, which is by his home, what it was. They were the aggressors in that situation because they chose to be doing felony crime of breaking and entering. Now, granted, would that technically be breaking and entering on an occupied dwelling? Perhaps, but that's the thing, right? Like, even if it's detached garage, I know for a fact there's garages that are detached from homes that have apartments and stuff over them and stuff like that, dude. So it's like, for all you know, there was somebody living in an apartment above that garage is what it was. So, you know, while it might have been like a bottom unoccupied dwelling, whatever the case be, it'd be a top occupied dwelling as it is then potentially. I'm not saying in this case it was, but it could have been, obviously. So, yeah, it's a bunch of shit all the way around is what it is, man. And I think really the biggest takeaway from this whole thing we need to be talking about is how I'm pretty sure it's a Michigan DA right now, probably some leftist piece of shit county DA is my guess, who is trying to make a name for themselves there in Michigan with this case, using this guy doing malicious persecution, similar to what they did with Rittenhouse back in the day with that piece of shit Tom Binger, when they tried to roll Rittenhouse back from using self-defense against this piece of shit Kenosha several years back now is what it is. And it was for these people to make a name for themselves so they could run for a higher office is what it is. And I think that's what we're seeing here in Michigan because, first off, the fact this happened back in July, and they're just now, like, arresting and trying to charge this guy with manslaughter, like, months later is what it is. It's like, yeah, I don't think that's the case, man. I think it's definitely, like, it was probably, like, initially, like, oh, yeah, it's perfect case to stand your ground. This guy was good to go, whatever the case being. And it was some DA being like, well, you know, and on second thought, I need to run for higher office here. Let me go ahead and use this guy and roll his ass is what it is to make fucking name for myself is what it is then. So, but anyway, going to the first article here, it was Michigan man charged for fatally shooting teen who broke into his garage. Said a Michigan man fatally shot a teen who broke into his garage and is now facing manslaughter, rap, sparking controversy over the state standard ground law. Slevin Wilson, 17, was with his 6 other, mainly teenager friends when the group broke into Dayton Knapton's garage in White Lake shortly after 1 a.m. July 8th. Knapton, 24, got an alarm on his phone security system. Okay, grabbed a 9mm handgun, so I'm guessing that was a LCR, that's the case. Ran outside and fired 2 shots in the garage through the windowless door, striking Wilson. So see, and what I'm thinking on that one is, like, if you were able to shoot that dude and, like, smoke him on the spot is what it was there, like, just randomly shooting through a door or whatever, then I'd be willing to bet, honestly, that was some Final Destination shit, man. Like, you cannot tell me that guy, like, it was not meant to die at that point, because it's, like, the fact that you just, like, commit a crime and you literally find out the consequences of that crime immediately, like, it just shows everything right there is what it is. Anyway, it says striking Wilson according to prosecutors and cops, which this is obviously the guy that they're reporting now is what it is with manslaughter, and this piece of shit's family want fucking murder charges for it is what it is. So, anyway, here we go. Let's see what we're at now. Yeah, it says, as the group fled, Knapton fired 5 more shots before going back into the home, reloading his gun, and returning outside, according to a statement by the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office. Said, quote, Slevin was running away and got shot, said Sean Madden, Wilson's father, to a local news outlet. Not what it sounds like at all, bro. Like, literally, it sounds like your son was in the garage. Dude went bang, bang. At least one of those shots struck your moron fucking criminal son. And then his retard fucking friends were all like, oh shit, boys down, run for it, y'all. And that's exactly what happened then, is what it was. It's like, maybe don't be doing criminal shit, you'll be alive, is what it is to see 18 years old with this man. Seriously, people. Like, this is the problem with our society right now, is you have pieces of shit like this fucking clown right here, who is the idiot son, or who's the idiot father of this fucking moron, who you would think would share a last name with his child, though, right? But I'm guessing it's one of these deadbeat fucking fathers that love to nut inside women back in the day, and then not actually wife them up as what it was there. Anyway, continuing on here, it said another teen was struck in the in the group was struck hitting the leg, which I'm guessing was obviously another black kid would be my guess unless on that one. So Wood Lake Township police officers responded to the scene after being notified of 2 victims with bullet wounds in Commerce Township, according to a fresh release from the night of the incident. It was too late to save Slivin, who succumbed to his injuries later that night. Said, quote, the defendant crossed the line by firing outside his home at fleeing persons. Prosecutor Karen McDonald, of course it's fucking like Karen, said of Kempton, quote, his actions not only look bad, like, his actions not only took a life, but potentially endangered the surrounding community by firing his weapon into the night. Fuck you, cunt. You have every legal right to stand your fucking ground at that point. And this is the problem when you're like, oh, you shouldn't be shooting fleeing suspects. Bull fucking shit, dude. That's exactly what our society needs to be at this point. You want to fuck around, you want to do criminal shit, you're going to fucking find out real quick what it is, buddy. It's that simple, honestly. It's literally that simple. So, I'm going to look and see if I can see if it looks like if that'd be the case. Merriman is what it is. Anyway, continuing on here, it said Kempton was recently charged with manslaughter, assault with intent to cause bodily harm, and 2 firearms offenses. Faces up to 15 years behind bars for the top charge. Said Slivin's family said that they want Kempton charged with murder. Quote, it doesn't make sense that it wasn't done out of malice, and for them to charge him with manslaughter when everything in the report suggests it was malice intent, said Wilson's mother, Armenia Madden. Okay, so that makes sense. So basically this would be, it sounds to me like that would be a stepfather then if that'd be the case. And then his mom would have remarried to this guy's what it would be then if that'd be the case then. Yeah, your son was a piece of shit, dude. Maybe teach your fucking piece of shit son not to be a goddamn criminal. And again, he would see 18 years old what it is. You fucking morons. This is why, honestly, I would love to see us as a nation pass a nationwide parental accountability act is what it is. And it's, if your fucking piece of shit kid is raised to think that criminality is okay, then guess what? When they do a crime and they die in that crime, your dumbass gets charged with fucking murder of that kid. That's what it is. As a parent. Because you didn't put enough responsibility into raising that child to be like, hey, don't steal shit from people and you're not going to get fucking killed. So, but yeah, this kid was not winning any awards, dude, for real. Says Kempton's lawyer, Dov Listing, meanwhile, said in an interview with local news that his client was clearly justified in the shooting. Yes, he was. Very much so. He was 100% in stand your ground. There's what it was, dude. Lawyer said this is a case of stone self-defense. Kempton pled not guilty to the charges in November, was given a $200,000 bond. Which, meanwhile, like, I guarantee if this was the opposite of racist, dude, if it was like black dude killing a white guy or whatever, this dude wouldn't have a fucking bond at that point, honestly. Or it'd be some bullshit like the Carmelo Anthony case where it was him murdering Austin Metcalf in cold blood and then having his shit reduced to, like, what was it, a couple $100,000 at most. And I think it was like 20 grand is what he paid out order for that to get out of jail. That's what it was. So, anyway, says Michigan law allows for residents to use deadly force against anyone who is invading their home if they have an honest and reasonable belief that there's a threat to their life, which in this case it was, obviously. So listening to reporters that Kempton's home had been, Kempton's home had been broken into multiple times before, and that local police merely encouraged him to get a better home alert system. So the neighbor told Fox News that Kempton stored dirt bikes in the garage, although it's unclear if that's what was the teens may have been after. It says 4 minors and a 21-year-old who were with Wilson have been charged with breaking and entering, according to prosecutors. Again, these 5 pieces of shit right here, along with the other piece of shit who got popped in the leg, so it'd be 6 of them is what it is, they should all be facing felony murder rule charge at this point, dude. And that's the problem with Michigan right now. Like, people in Michigan need to elect better representation there and reinstate felony murder rule at a state level is what it is right now, dude, because these pieces of shit right here all should be charged with felony murder rule, not just breaking and entering. This Kempton man should not be facing any charges whatsoever except a pat on the fucking back and be like, good job, buddy. Like, that's what they should be given. We should give an attaboy. Like, you're taking out the trash of society is what it is, dude. And the fact that you have these 5 pieces of shit getting lesser charges than the guy that they were robbing that led to one of their idiot fucking friends' deaths is exactly what the problem of society is right now, is what it is, man. So, anyway. I do want to see what this, see if they show a picture of this retard prosecutor woman, this Karen McDonald. Okay, I guess it's just her statement is what it is, dude. I feel like I recognize this name from before. Let me look this woman up real quick. Because I feel like there's definitely... And again, who's to say this isn't racially motivated by her? She might be a black woman for all we know. So... Oh, no, she's just a white woman. Yeah, she looks like a white level bitch, honestly, dude. Yeah, this is the stupid cunt that's trying to charge this man. So... Jesus Christ. That right there tells you exactly what kind of SJW she is, dude. Aims to bring human-first approach to Oakland County Prosecutor's Office. Again, after this trial site again, dude, like, this is exactly what we need on disqualification for people running for office in this country, because it's dumb cunts like this that end up holding power that fuck over people's lives is what it is, dude. It's retarded pieces of shit Democrats like that have no business being in office being what it is, man. So... yeah, someone's a fucking clown. And I would not be surprised if I actually looked into it hard enough and found out she was running for, like, AG of Michigan or something in next year's election cycle, or some other top-level position like that, or, like, a state house level position or something, maybe. Like state rep, state senator, something like that, maybe. And, again, what better way to, you know, be like, hey, look at my record. I totally fucked this guy over to get in the higher office, what it is. So... yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all, dude. And the fact that, like I said, that we already know that this dude's house was broken into multiple times, like, obviously, like, he was being targeted at that point, dude. Like, you can't tell me he wasn't. So, if anything, like, he should be the one getting the massive pay out of this, what it is right now. I know there's other people on, like, X and a couple other sites that have actually said they're like, just wait until this dude's, you know, give, send, go, goes live or whatever the case be, because they're going to be like one of the top dinners too, is what they said there. So I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, to see that happen. And this is what needs to happen in the situation. We need to get this dude the best defense possible. Because it's bullshit, dude. This man should not be facing any time in prison at all for this. The fact that he's facing 15 years for the top charge and then probably, I think it's like a 20-year sentence overall, whatever it is there, for everything, it's fucking ridiculous. And when this is like a clear-cut case of self-defense, it's literally Democrat pieces of shit in power in Michigan who are trying to fuck with 2A rights. That's what it is now, dude. Just the same way they fuck with 2A rights in the last couple of General Assemblies there, when they sold their fucking souls to Gabby Giffords and other anti-gunners to pass a bunch of anti-gun bullshit in response to that kid having a massacre in 2022. There's what it was. When, again, back in those days, with that, when they charged his parents and that whole thing, for that, with some other charge or whatever it was, that was like a, what do you call it now? Fuck, I'm trying to know the phrasing they use for that is, what, you know? It's not textbook. It would be, case precedent, that's what it is. Like they said, case precedent with whatever the charge was they sent to his parents was there or whatever. When in reality, again, going back then, if they'd had felony murder rule in place then, because that piece of shit's parents were the ones that bought him the firearm to do that, eventually do that massacre is what was there, and knew that their kid was like a threat to society, basically, they should have been charged with felony murder rule in that case as well. And again, this goes back to the fact that Michigan itself, as a state, just needs to reenact felony murder rules, what it is, man, because it should not be Dayton Knapton that is facing any charges at all in this one. It should be the 21-year-old and the 4 other teenage pieces of shit there that should all be facing those charges, what it is there. And they should be charged with everybody's death is what it is, because they're all in commission of a crime, doing breaking and entering is what it is there, which is a felony in all 50 states what it is right now. So, anyway, it's just bullshit entirely. And like I said, I think it's more, we need to start talking about this stuff more and more is what it is, dude. And as someone who's a 2A advocate, has been for almost 7 years now. And when I say that, I mean that for real. Like, it was, I think I'll talk about it real quick before I get out today. You guys know my progression of how I became a gunner to now is what it is. It was literally a couple days before 2018 midterms, I bought my first gun. And then it was basically between November 2018 and August 2019 is where it was basically just like that period of me just being a gunner is what it was there. And then it was August 2019 is when we had the Dayton massacre happen here, with that piece of shit Antifa kid killing all those people. And then it was 3 days after that, you had Democrats try to push for a bunch of anti-gun bullshit here at the state level, which is when I got involved with groups back then, including Start Change United, where we were basically trying to get counties to enact county-level versions of what is now being put through the State House as I forget what the actual thing is now offhand. I can't. My mind's blanking anyway. But yeah, so we were basically doing that stuff, and then from there, it was basically I was part of that group for about a year or so, give or take, and then it was basically around like 2020, 2021 is when I kind of branched on my own because nobody's really doing anything at that point, and that's when I created Ohioans for Firearms Freedom, and that's when I fought for a year of my life, calling up the states. People within the state house and the state senate, all different kinds of Republicans and stuff like that, to get them on board with actually passing constitutional carry. And between myself and then Chris Dorr and people Ohio Gunners and stuff like that, all of us together were responsible for getting that past the finish line. Of course, you had the NRA come through, and it was about, I think, 2 votes before it went to the floor is what it was then. You had that piece of shit DJ Swearingen, who's now backing that moron Vivek Ramaswamy for governor. That piece of crap literally cut some backdoor deal with the NRA to basically water down Stand Your Ground, or not Stand Your Ground, to water down constitutional carry, because what constitutional carry should have been, as it should have been anyone 18 and over that could legally possess a firearm being covered underneath that shit. But then it was basically, instead, they upped it to 21 and over is what it was then. And it's a bunch of shit, honestly, dude, in general. But they also like watered it down a couple different ways. But yeah, the reason I bring it up, obviously, is because it was about a year or so of that becoming a law of the land. So it was either the end of 2022 or beginning of 2023 when it was enacted then. You had some guy who was 19, got fucked over. He was railroaded because he had a window tint, and then they found a gun possession on what it was there. And we're basically like, oh, you're mishandling a firearms motor vehicle, even though if it was actually 18 number we had constitutional carry for, then he wouldn't have been charged with that crime at all, is what it is. So yeah. But yeah, so basically what it was, we had Stand Your Ground in 2021 here in Ohio, and then it was constitutional carry 2022, which is, like I said, what I fought for over a year of my life. There's what it is. And then it was basically since then I've just been fighting for various, better stuff is what it is. Getting a better version of Stand Your Ground, because they basically, what I consider to be Ohio Stand Your Ground right now, it's not really totally Stand Your Ground. It's more like expanded castle doctrine, because all it did was basically be like, oh, your outside detached garage and stuff like that is not part of your property, and you can legally, shoot somebody's self-defense out there is what it is now and stuff. And obviously in like public places too, for that matter, if they're, aggressing on you and things like that. So it's somewhat Stand Your Ground, but it's not totally Stand Your Ground, because they also put out the thing where, this is what we're actually trying to fix right now with various legislation the state house hasn't been passed yet, which is, if we actually have them do a proper enactment of this current legislation, I forget what the bill is offhand, but basically what happened was you had a bunch of rhinos back then in 2021 for the original Stand Your Ground, where what it should have been passed as is homeowners cannot be civilly lawsuited in the case of death, which a bunch of rhino scumbags were like, oh no, we're not going to be on board with this if you don't take that out, basically, and water it down from there. And that's exactly what they did with the NRA, et cetera. That's what it was. And so that's basically what got passed then, was where you could still be civilly lawsuited, and now it's basically coming back around 4 years later to where now it's hopefully going to be enacted here in 2026 at some point then. And it would be, put back the way it needs to be put back as official standard grounds what it is then. So, but anyway, other than that though, like that's pretty much where I'm at for the day right now. I need to actually contact Tex Fisher again one of these days because it was back in like April into May of this year. I was talking to him about introducing legislation that would be for people like me that have had a firearm stolen here in the state, and it's like you would have a year for them to figure it out, for the cops to like find that weapon. If they can't find it in that time, you can basically file a claim, and then it would basically be a situation where you would get a financial reimbursement from the state is what it is for the cost of that weapon is what it is, and then if that weapon was ever recovered, it would basically just become state property. Then that's what it is. And the last part of the conversation I had with him, he was basically like discussing with me. He's like, "Hey, like, who do I go about, looking into this? Should I go to the AG's office or somebody else for that matter?" And I'm like, "I don't know, dude. You're the state rep here, so what it is. Like, figure it out." So I'm like, I would assume it's Yost's office at this point that you'd want to go talk to or whatever. So I don't know if you ever did talk to him or not, but like, that's basically where I was left hanging back in like May, and he still hasn't gotten back to me since then. That's what it is. And I know for a fact that legislation still has not been introduced yet. So I would like to, get a hold of him again. That's what it is, and be like, "Hey, you're still gonna do this or what, buddy?" So, and then if you can introduce it to something else, like hopefully it'll be before they go out for their next break is what it is right now. Because I know they're having I'm not sure if they're out of the chambers yet or not. I know they should be. I think maybe it'll be the end of the week. Maybe is when they're going to go out then, because I know next Thursday would be Thanksgiving. So I'm thinking it would be like Thursday or Friday this week would be like their last day. And then they'd be out like all next week would be my guess. And then I think it would be like the beginning. I think maybe like Monday the 1st would be when they come back maybe or something. Or maybe like Tuesday or Wednesday, like 2nd or 3rd or something like that is what it would be then. And I know they go out like, I think it's like around the 17th. So there should be like a 2 weeks time screen here is what it is, where they can introduce legislation. That's what it is. And then it would be right around like the week before Christmas, and then like all through Christmas, and then all through basically the rest of the holiday. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they come back like, let's see, 27, 28. They should be back like Monday the 29th, I think. And then it would be like Tuesday the 30th, perhaps, to do like some random, like, crazy ass session, those midnight sessions they do where it's like they'll pass a bunch of bills at like 2 a.m. is what it is then. And then they'd take off. I believe that the Tuesday would be like their last day in office for the year then, because it would be the 31st Wednesday, the 1st on Thursday. And then I think it would be all like up to like the next week or whatever then. So it would be like it would either be right before or right after my birthday is when they come back for the 2026 part of the General Assembly is what it is then. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens though. But I'd like to see it put in there before that then, because I know you have to have certain things introduced like before a certain time during the years is what it is for the General Assembly here in Ohio, to where they could actually be given a hearing no matter what it is for at least a first hearing. And that's one thing I would like to at least see with this piece of legislation. Like it might not get passed this year, obviously, or next year for that matter. But at least if it was introduced and got like a first hearing, it would be like on the docket basically to just be like, yeah, just, come 2027, like somebody needs to put that back into place is what it is in this piece of legislation, then reintroduce it and then get it passed then next year is what it'll be then. So, or not next year, but 2 years from now is what it'll be then. So anyway, but, yeah, like I said, I believe that this Dayton Knapton guy is definitely being roared right now. He's definitely getting fucked over by the state of Michigan, specifically by this Karen McDonald woman who is nothing but an SJW fucking leftist prosecutor trying to make a name for herself. So it is there, and she needs to be kicked the fucking office of this man. If anything, she should be the one facing charges right now, along with these fucking criminals that are breaking into this man's house that was there. And well, I shouldn't say house; they were breaking into his garage, but the fact that his house had been broken into previously, like who's to say it wasn't the same group breaking into his house previously? That'd be the case, man. So, either way, it's just bullshit. And again, it's like this is what happens in a low trust society, man. You have people doing everything right, being the literal victim of a crime, standing their ground, shooting people in self-defense, and then they get fucking rewarded for the shit is what it is there. They should be, like I said, because if actually we go with the case of that one kid in 2022 with his parents, the Crumbly family, there's what it is. That actual charge they charge his parents with there, it should be same with this Wilson kids. Because it should be case person at this point, obviously, in Michigan. But like I said, if they actually have felony murder rule again there in Michigan, it would also be a charge, too, for that matter, because all 5 of the other teenagers that were with this piece of shit, and then the 21-year-old that was with them doing the crimes of breaking and entering, they should all be charged with felony murder rule at this point, obviously. So this Dayton guy shouldn't be charged with anything, is what it is then, man. But anyway, that's about it for today. I got some stuff I got to do right now, and actually do some laundry here in a little bit, so because it's been kind of piling up here is what it is, so. But yeah, one of these days soon, I'm going to hopefully get all the stuff off of here in the next few days is what it'll be, and then my plan for this week, because fuckface behind me here is what it is. About 3 a.m. this morning, and my idiot buddy woke me up about dead sleep here in the chair is what it was then. So, because they were playing video games and yucking it up like a couple of jackasses again. The only reason I call the cops a 3rd time now is because I didn't know how long it was going to last, and I didn't think they were going to be out here fast enough, so what it was, and plus I was so groggy because I was literally woken out of a dead REM sleep is what it was. That it took me like an hour just to be awake enough to be like, shut the fuck up, man. This idiot. So, well, like, my sister and I were talking this morning too about it, and I'm just like, yeah, I gotta get the fuck out of here before my lease ends, man, end the story. So, I need to find a new place here before the end of March is what it is next year. Just have that rate roll as it would be then. Because this is just some bullshit right now is what it is. So, because obviously my landlord doesn't give a fuck enough to actually just evict this stupid motherfucker is what it is then. Which he should have done when he was stealing my fucking electricity back in like May, April, or yeah, back in like May or June or whatever it was there that I caught his ass then. Which I know that wasn't the first time he was doing it either, too, for that matter, because when I looked at my electric bills from that time period, comparing to after I'd put the duct tape over the outside outlets, there's what it was. It dropped by like half. Like it went from like almost $60 a month to fucking $30 a month is what it was then. So, definitely some shady shit going on for sure out there. Not to mention that fucking clown could have easily caused an electrical fire because when he was plugging into that outlet, he didn't bother coming back over and shutting the fucking safety latch thing is what it was there. And then it rained all that night, and it could have easily gone into the outside plug there and like started an electrical fire is what it was then. I would have been dead in this fucking apartment is what it was then. So, yeah, like I'm just so over this motherfucker right now is what it is, man. So, but anyway. That being said, hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you on the next one. Always be safe. Always be carrying. Always make sure to be in the right of everything. And really, I would say at this point, like, if you can find a good 2A insurance company that will cover you in case of, like, you know, some kind of shooting like this is what it is, like, probably smart to invest in that, honestly. I haven't done it myself yet, just because I haven't been able to find that good ones what it is. I know some of them claim to be good, but then they also fuck people over, so it's just all the whole thing right now. I mean, I did one on Saturday, so I'm planning on doing one this Saturday is what it is then. So I got some 704 knives I'll talk about. I also picked up, what was it here? This guy yesterday that came in, but it was not. I'm actually kind of pissed off with this company a little bit just because I don't know if they resold me a used knife or what it was. Because when I opened that blade yesterday, it's supposed to be a crossbar that like she easily flip open is what it is. And I had to pull it all the way back the tab to where it would not flip open at all. I had to literally thumb set it open as what it was then, and then even me trying to close it, it was still fucking up then. Like it just wasn't. Like, I don't know if it just needs oiled or if it's like a pivot issue or what it is in that, but it's not working like it needs to is what it is. So, very disappointed. It was one of those ones that 704 Gear did not have a review the other day, and now they're out of stock. So, I don't know if I'd be able to get a new one or not out of that, or if it would be me just having to return that one and get my money back if that'd be the case. But either way, very disappointed in that one in general. So, and it's not like that's even a great steel either. It's a 440C steel is what it is. So, but anyways, I might talk about that one on Saturday. I'm not sure yet. But other than that, like, it's basically going to be, I'll do a stream tomorrow with Honda. Whatever it wants to call it, that point 2A or whatever the case be, Tuesday or something. And then we will talk about whatever their topics are of the day for that one. And then it'll be, I'm not sure if I'll do another Grandstand this week or not. Or if I'll just do maybe like a review of something else, if that'll be the case. And then it'll just be Freedom Friday, Slicey Boy Saturday, and then whatever else, if that'll be the case. Hopefully by then I'll have my stuff back here. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do my blow dryer to get these off. Here's what it is right now, because I'm trying to figure out where my outlets are right now is what it is that I could use to potentially blow dry that off is what it is right now, and then be able to take the stuff up and then just pop it in there and stuff with hammers and whatnot then, because I got some pins for the soundproofing then, because I definitely want to soundproof this wall for sure is what it is now, because I was talking to my sister earlier. I think I figured out the wall right now is about the same size as this other wall over here, which is basically about like maybe that much space in between the walls, what it is then. So it would just be like a little knock, knock, knock is what it is there. And I'm thinking like what I would want to do is I want to have it be from here all the way down, like behind me, to where the things are over on this side. Here's what it is on the bottom there. And then, so it'd be like 4 panels deep is what it is. And then just do 4. So it'd be like 4 here, 4 there. I think it'd be around 8 in these two. This area right behind me is what it is then. And then it'd be another 4 right here. And then another 4 right there. And then another 4 next to what it is there. So it'd be like 20 panels or so. And hopefully it'll all work out for the best, but who knows. And hopefully that'll be enough to get me through till April is what it is then. Or if this dude is not re-upped on his lease come, I think it'd be like February maybe or something, is when he was basically telling me he would be up then when I moved in that day. So, but yeah, as long as his lease is up, then he's, out of there, whatever the case be, or didn't get renewed or whatever it is there. Maybe we could get somebody new in there is what it is, and that wouldn't be an issue then if that'd be the case. Because that's the thing, like all it takes is like somebody new coming here and I'd live for 100 years what it is, man. But not with this fucking clown is what it is though. So anyway. But yeah, that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out, stay safe, stay vigilant. Always be caring, always know your exits, always know your situational awareness, and never be the victim of anything. And, I would say, honestly, like 95% of the time, the police are on your side, especially if you're the one that's, making the calls and stuff like that. So, later, y'all. See ya.